going through all that and seeing all that, experiencing all that with those individuals and seeing that cycle, did you take any of that home? Like on your brain, like how did you even try to unpack that?
And
even as a psychologist.
Listen, I go home every night, I pray to God for superhero powers. I said, if you give me superhero powers, that means I can kill these bad people who are doing these things. Because you see these little children, you hear the stories. The worst story. Mm-hmm. We had a 9-month come in. She tested positive for chlamydia.
A 9-year-old?
9 months.
9 months? Welcome back to another episode of the What You Want podcast. Today, I know I always say that I have a special guest. I say it a lot of times. However,
but you do. They're all powerful.
There you go. They're all powerful. Like, listen, this is the type of guy he is. So today I have a great professional here, but more so a great friend. Someone that he brought me on his radio show on WNOV. I'm going to speak to that. He's a psychologist. He's a consultant for the Bucks, for the Special Olympics and Paralympics. He does a lot of consultative work, a lot of mental health things. I'm gonna let him brag about it soon. I'm just trying to give him a will do, his just due in his introduction. Please welcome Kweku Amoasi to the What You Want podcast. How you doing?
Hey man, my pleasure.
Hey,
I feel like because I listen to the podcast and they'd be like, we don't need another podcast. I'd be like, no, that's exactly what we need. We need more podcasts because it's everybody's voice and it's unfiltered, from the media that's brought out. But when I listen to who you bring on, especially yours, I think it's so important because I love the voices, I love the diversity, and I love the spectrum of conversations from talking to mental health to financial literacy, empowerment, but it's always about seeing the essence of human beings and hearing their stories to be able to motivate others. So absolutely a fan.
No, for sure. And I'm a fan of yours from afar as well because, it's just really about what we got going on here in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And then also knowing that we have people in Milwaukee that are,
he grabbed
it, that are going off into other spaces. Like I know you've been out of town in Colorado, Kansas City, all these other places. You've been everywhere, but you're going out there providing that Milwaukee feel and bringing back some of the things. So that's wonderful. So just for starters, let everyone know, who you are, where you come from, a little bit about your upbringing.
Man, it's like one of the stories I hear from you, born and raised in Milwaukee. We have a kind of weird thing because they're like, well, where do you grow up? I grew up mostly on 7th and Melvine, and the reason is just because where my grandmother lived.
Gotcha.
And so my parents and my mother and all her siblings was real close. So right across from my grandmother's grade school, Green Bay Avenue.
Green Bay.
So everybody would drop their children off to my grandmama and granddaddy house on 7th and Melvine. It's sort of like good time. We pull out the couch, we sleep, get up, have breakfast. We all go to school, come back. So all my cousins are like my siblings because then our parents would come in from work, they eat dinner. My grandmother had dinner made. Then we go home. When you're young, you sleep right away. But I grew up on 37th and Capitol, so that was like the hometown. So me, my mother, my sister, my father, till my parents divorced. And then did that whole Capitol. We lived on 37, 27, 29, Capitol and whatnot like that. But no, it was a beautiful thing. I always tell people, like, we didn't have the financial, kind of luxury. But I grew up in so much love.
Right,
you don't even recognize it. It's like we laugh now. My grandparents had a 2-bedroom house with 1 bathroom. And maybe about 30 of us in there. And it was never no fights with the bathroom. We was like, how was that? It was like, and what that taught me was like, when you got love, man, you got everything.
And you're able to make it work, right?
It is. And so it's like, I tell people, like, we sometimes talk about what we do have, what we don't have. I always come back to like the love that I had coming. So you like, well, who are you, where you from? I'd be like, I'm from love because we grew up in 53206, and I hate the narrative. People be like, 53206 is this, or they try to act like, like Compton, like I grew up in 53206.
Like a badge of honor, right?
Yeah, and it was like, listen, when I grew up in 53206, it was love, and this was a different time because I was born in 72. So this is the industrial age. You got like A.O. Smith, Briggs, and Stratton, all of these industrial companies. So people were able to make a living real good. So it was love. You had people if my grandparents went home, we go to Miss Lever's house, we go to Miss Bivens' house. Like you knew where everybody was. I swear to God, man, like this window, they can't see it right here. But right across the street, my teacher would raise up the window. She said, "You need to talk to your grandmama." It was like that kind of
That's
love.
community.
Like,
That's that community.
we were community was the true village. And so when you think about 53206, I was like, man, you couldn't be soft. You know, when nobody weak.
No, for sure.
You can't kill the man in the street.
Right.
That's football, but you get the ball, everybody trying to time. It was like rugby. So you had to be tough. You know, you couldn't be soft. But it wasn't about, but you made up because the person you fought was your friend. Y'all was cool the next day. And then when the 80s came, it started to get a little rougher and whatnot. Like that's when the games came. So you had, I still wear a little terrible.
Add a little flavor
but
to
it was
it.
like, it was just, you can see the kind of decline, but that's also, you know, part where I think what happened was Milwaukee was one of the best places to live for a black man in the 70s. We look now, everybody be talking about, who was the worst place? And I was like, well, that's fine. Look at this. You know, it was social engineering. They took away the jobs, high policing. So now when we look at this disproportionate increase in prisons, they said, well, where did it start? It started in schools because you had all of these young boys put into what special ed, disproportionately and all of that.
Right.
And I say that because I was one of those kids. You know, it's like, people was like, what? Yeah, I was one of the special ed.
In elementary? What elementary school did you go to?
Green Bay.
Green Bay, and then you went to Mooresville.
Yeah, and so, but this was the beautiful thing. When we was in special ed, it was a real special ed. It was like, we gonna get you better. So not only did they take me from a negative area, but they strengthened me to where when Morris came out supposedly to school for the gifted talent, I was able to surpass that and be accepted into it. So that's when special education was truly special. Now, it's a watered down version. We don't make you be your best. So when we talk about the transition, I say Milwaukee is not far from being great because we already had it. So it's a reverse. So when we talk about our hometown, it's like I do talk about it with love because I've seen her at her best. You know, when the parks was beautiful.
Remember,
I grew up in Beckham Stapleton Little League.
Me too.
We used to go to when it was Capitol Court, and then we would march down Capitol Court all the way to Carter Park, which is Beckham Park now. And just like you see the Juneteenth parade, and it'd be lines of people cheering the song. We walking in our uniform. So you talking about building up a little child's self-esteem and
This is
seeing
history.
love. Man, it was beautiful. So it's like, you know, you say, who are you? It's hard to talk about like me without talking about the community that raised me because coaches like Billy Prince and his son Quinn Prince is out here doing the thing. So when I see little Quinn, I see Billy, but I look at my coaches like Coach Larry West, like men who loved us and gave us like what they gave their children. It was just a beautiful event. I think we need more of that because we was like, oh, these YNs, these kids up there. It's like, well, who got them? I said, if ain't nobody got them, then the real problem is on us. So that's what we got to do. So when I think of Milwaukee, I do see it with love. I see how she's going down, but I also have hope that she can come back to where she was.
For sure. And I know, like, as you talk about this with so much fervor, so much together, I know, hey, he loves Milwaukee. Hey, I'm right with him.
Yeah.
And when you brought up like Beckham and things like that, and just the community feel, as you went through your elementary and high school journeys, how influential was that for you? Because I know you were the king as well, right? What was that experience like?
But you know what? Rufus King and Samuel Morse saved my life because when I first got to Morse, I was still, like I told you, my parents had got divorced, and this is right when the city was starting to go down. So it was easy to go to the left or to the right. But I got into the avenue of sports. And so having these sports teams was just like the saviors for me. So being on the basketball team at Samuel Morse, but then going to King where I had these physical outlets. So I played football, I wrestled, you know, it was like, that was the best thing. And so my education was going good. I had that balance with that. But I didn't have much of a social life. Mom put the clamps on me. So it's like, you know, when you're young, like, I can't do nothing. But I understand why she did it. But having a regular school, you know, curriculum, going to the thing, it was like, man, I couldn't have a better high school experience.
Got you. It was a method to mom's madness.
You know, my mother always would say, she said, I might not have been the best mother in the world, but I was the best I could be. And I said, well, that's what made you the best. Because what can you give but all you got? You know, she was a single mother trying to make it happen. And just to put a low-key flex brag on her, both her children are doctors. And not that education is the thing, but it was just like, I think we're good human beings.
Right.
And so that's what she raised out of that house.
Agreed. I agree. We both of you guys has been a wonderful experience, especially being on the radio.
You know? Well, my sister, she's the prize child. Like, you know, Savage raising children, she always number one. She always number one. But she is. I mean, like, having a big sister, you know, women usually, girls mature a little bit more. She's 3.5 years, but those like dog years. So it's like having two mothers. and whatnot. And she protected me physically.
Right.
She protected me emotionally, and I think why I did well in school was because I had her. You know, she didn't have anybody to help her with her schoolwork and to do anything. And so when it was time for me to learn, she had already had the tools and was able to help me. So I couldn't speak more highly of a person than my big sister in this world.
Thank you for saying that. That's crazy. I didn't even know that.
Birth orders for real. That's a real thing.
Because my sister and I are 11 years apart. She's my big sister.
Yeah.
She's pretty much like my second mother.
Yeah.
She went to Samuel Morris. But given the time, then she went to Northgate School of Arts. And I kind of like followed her footsteps trying to be in education. She's been a teacher for 25 plus years.
Thank her for
Man, that's crazy. We do that. We find out some more stuff. So you never know what we'll talk about. Moving on, you go to Whitewater.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Didn't want to go to Whitewater.
talk about it.
Yeah, well, you know, it's like, you know, you're playing football, so, you know, you're hoping for a scholarship and everything like that. That didn't manifest the way I wanted. And so then I wanted to go to Morehouse, but financially, you know, I wasn't able to do. I didn't get the scholarship to go. And even if I would have, we couldn't have did just to coming back home from Thanksgiving. We didn't know anybody there. So my sister went to Whitewater. My mama said, you going to Whitewater? And so the only reason that made Whitewater appealing to me because they used to label it the HBCU of the North.
I've heard that.
And so, and when I was there, it really was. It was like Whitewater had 10,000 students, 400 was black. That's including blacks and Africans. So when you go, you're like, oh man, that's spot. So when you're in class, you are that chocolate dot. But afterwards, then we had this place called McCutcheon Hall. And so we had people like Dr. Elizabeth Oakenshoulder, Dr. Roger Pullen, who just passed away. We had Cleve, man, when I look at Cleveland, just think about, and so many names, I don't want to miss none. Frida Briscoe, you know, you say you don't want to feel offended. But everybody that was there, man, they made us feel at home. They made sure from a scholarly standpoint, we was together from a community standpoint. So it was a home away from home. You 45 minutes, so you grown, you away. You know, ain't nobody just knocking at your door, but if something happened, you get home quick, fast, in a hurry. But what you learn is this when you really get in touch with racism and everything, like, oh, this is real. Like, oh, well, okay, now I gotta survive in this world. Because people say, well, go to HBC where you love, but you go to a PWI. Well, what happens is you touch reality. But we got the best of both worlds. So that's where I joined my fraternity, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. So I pledged when I was 19, so I was a kid. So it was a pseudo rites of passage.
Right.
Because it wasn't just the young people on the campus that I became what I got to know. Like, you know, you look in the world, it's like John Thomas, Clark LaVille, like all of these, Rocky Cole, all of these men, Louis Adams, you know, I could just go on with names and names, but when we would come back in the city, who were teachers, who would incorporate different things, I look at somebody like Derek Washington, who's still in my life now, but he was just a little bit younger then, Kenny Little. These men that help like teach you the ways, because you see them working with their wives, with their little children, see them grow up. So it's not just what they say to you, but what you see and the standpoint. So you know, having this in college, man, it was beautiful.
Man. You know what is powerful? The fact that you actually got to hear people, great people, right? But you also got to see them in action.
That's the
How
biggest
important
thing.
is that? Even when we think about our kids nowadays, right?
We
It
talk
used
about
to be
social
do as I
learning.
say, not as I do.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes, you know, my mom would tell me that because people say, "Oh, that's hypocritical." No, what they're saying is, I don't want to see you make the same mistakes I did. I'm trying to give you the blueprint. Ed Henry's who's doing some good work out in the things. We went to Samuel Morris together, and he wrote a book called The Answers. He was like, we got to give these young people the answers beforehand. I think that's when you hear people say, "Do as I say, not what I do." That's because, see, I didn't do this, and I don't want you to go this path. Right. So that's how I hear it.
No, for sure. And I respect it that way as well. I just also know that.
But you're right, though. Seeing is
actions.
The actions speak louder than words. Because the words speak louder, but the actions is louder. That's it.
Right. So when you were at Whitewater, did you know that you wanted to get into psychology? Or did you talk about that? Like, what did you major in? What were you doing?
You know, that's a beautiful question. I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
And then I was like, man, I'm not doing 3 years of school after this. And so I was like, you know what? I want to be a firefighter. And so I picked psychology as a major, but I was like, I might need to know this. So I had a double major in occupational safety and psychology. So I got accepted into this scholar program, the Ronald McNair Scholarship, named after the astronaut who unfortunately passed away on the Challenger in '86. But with these McNair scholars, what they would do is get first generation college students say, our goal is to get you your PhD. And I said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna be a firefighter, retire after 25 years. I go back during those 25 years and then I'm gonna counsel firefighters. That was my plan. And so I go into school, and then I go to like the valleys and Y or whatnot, and I go into a steam room. I'm like, I said, oh, I don't think this is a career for me. And so,
Oh my God.
occupational safety was such a thorough major, you didn't have to have a minor, but I had another major. And so I'm at my 4.5 year, and I'm like, man, I got 2 more years just because you got to do an internship with it.
Yeah.
And my counselor said, hey, you know what? You could graduate in December. Now I'm going in, it's my 4.5 year. She said, you graduated, you changed occupational safety to a minor. So you know what I did?
Change it to the
Turned
minor.
it to a minor. But the problem is, I was graduating with a psychology degree. You can't be a psychologist with a psychology degree. I could have been like a PO or something like that. But the whole point of the McNair program was to say, we're going to get you a scholarship. And this is where the real part comes. So the McNair program, they send you to different campuses in the summertime to do research. So I go to Michigan State. People at Michigan State love me.
Wait, right there they sing?
Yeah, oh, now they've been sending the people all over where we got in when it was early, so it was like the economical trip. Now these people going across the country, and so I had 2 potential scholarships. One was to Florida State. Naeem Akbar came up, and just prominent psychologist, and he saw a young black man. He said, I'm gonna get you down to Florida State. Never heard back from him. There's no shade from Naeem Akbar.
Just reminiscent.
But then Michigan State was like, hey, we got a 5-year program. So I'm 21. Ronald McNair got his PhD that we learned about when I was 26. I said, well, I want to beat him. I want to get it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do Michigan State. But I didn't turn in my paperwork. Then I got in trouble. And now this is where it gets real because on the night I was supposed to graduate, I get arrested.
Now you're supposed to graduate from
college.
From Whitewater.
Yeah, I get arrested. And so from there, I don't know if I'm going to jail. I don't know what's going to happen. And so ended up going to court. Seeing my mom cry in the courtroom, that changed my whole trajectory on things. Because you trying to do this, you're trying to do this, you dabble. Like, I was president of the gospel choir, then I leave the gospel choir, go to the gamble. Then you got the ladies, and then you got, you rough, but then you do a community service. So it's a tale of 2 things. But when I saw my mother, I was like, I got to do something different. But if you had to say something, but the actions don't show. So I go back home. I'm gonna go to jail and get 18 months probation.
Gotcha.
But I'm wilding in my mama's house. She's like, you don't get it. So she kicks me out. So I go to my dad's house. Now he living on Titonia and Roosevelt, right across from the Roosevelt. And so, it's the real.
Yeah, right.
I'm used to it, but it's just
We didn't think of
different
it, for sure.
I get to tripping with him. He kicked me out. So, and I'm living in Garden Homes. It's now, I forgot the name of the school now. I should know it. It'll come back to me, but literally,
Garden Home
schools. The Garden Home School is, Lloyd Barber.
Oh, Lloyd Barber. Okay, gotcha.
And it was crazy because, see, this is where I used to play football as a little kid with the Wild. I remember scoring touchdowns. I remember playing baseball there at Rivers King. Like, this was a spot of, like, my triumphs. And here I am with a college degree on the precipice of going to prison because if you get, caught up on probation, sleeping on the bench, I'm like, man, where is my life taking me? And so I humble myself and I go to my dad. I said, I apologize. Can I stay back? So he allowed me back in. Now my sister ain't talking to me. Now remember I told you she's my best friend. She's like, if you want to mess up your life, because previous to getting arrested that night, I got arrested. Again, remember I told you I went to Michigan State? I got into a fight, beat up this guy, ran from the scene. Police caught up with me. My court date was when I was going to Michigan State. I said, well, I can't miss Michigan State. So it's a warrant out for my arrest. I didn't know. Remember, I'm the president of the gospel choir. I'm driving a people.
No.
They pulled me over for a red light. They're like, sorry, you gotta take me to prison or to jail.
Reality gets you.
And so my sister, she just got married. So now she got to come to Elkhorn, because that's the county jail there, pick me up, take me back to Whitewater, then go home. So her husband ain't gonna let her, do it alone. So she's like, you ain't about to mess up my life, with that. So I done messed up my mama, my daddy, and my sister. So, all of this stuff is going. So once my dad let me come back, like, okay, this is where, the lightning and the thunder, you hear you see the lightning, but then the thunder come.
Right.
So all of that stuff was the lightning, but being on that bench was when the thunder came, and it was like, okay, what am I gonna do? And that's when I came back. And so my sister got me a job at her school being a parent. And this is where I think, like, you talk about the divine. my high school, my football coach, the one that was at Garden Homes when I was a little boy, he remembered me because me and his son is Dance Hazelwood, so Coach Hazelwood, much love. He's like, what you doing? He like, you got your degree, why you up here? Like, what did you? I said, Coach, I got into a little trouble, and embarrassed, but you humble. And he says, guess what? I'm gonna hook you up with something. He gets me to a lady named Cynthia Gap. She's over HR at MPS. He said, I'm gonna get you an interview. I go in, she sees me, this young black guy, but I'm on probation. She see the good, but she also see the mess of it. She said, I'm gonna get you a job. She gets me a job at Riverside teaching, cognitively disabled. So they give me emergency teaching license. I'm teaching special education. So I'm working with the Special Olympics with my students. Now, guess what, man? I got some pride because these young people are looking up to me. I got to do community service, so I go back to Beckham Stapleton. I'm coaching. So Mr. Beckham knew the thing. He said, no drugs, no sex, thing. He said, okay, you can come back. So I'm coaching the young guy. They're like, look at this young guy. He's 23 out here with his time. They don't know. I feel like I'm right.
You fulfilling something.
So while I'm at Riverside, I gotta go every day to my PO, not every day, but every month to my PO. You gotta do your UA, and you gotta check in. And this is where I was like started turning around because I'm not trying to go back. And then that summer when I'm at Riverside, I started doing it, started selling cars. And then it's crazy, I sell this car and this man said, man, I had the best experience, Dr. Smith, because my name at the time was Ramil Smith. And I said, Dr. Smith, I was like, McNair wanted me to go to school. I'm teaching, this ain't really my thing, like that. So I go to apply at UWL for graduate school, for a school psychology program, because I'm working with the special ed things. I was like, I can do this with psychology.
Right.
And I go there, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to work at UPS at night, because I was working there from 10 to 2, because I did insurance. I subbed during the day, because all your classes at nighttime. I went into UWL. It was like, that's kind of a lot. I was like, well, you gotta do what you gotta do. It was like, well, what if we could pay for you? So
what?
I said, what? They said, what if we pay for you? And it was like, we'll get you a job as a TA that'll pay your tuition, it'll give you insurance.
Oh, at UW?
At UW Milwaukee.
So it's not alma mater too, so shout out to you.
So I started going to school there. It's a master's PhD program. So never didn't have to take out a loan. No, I took out a couple because I was married, it was poor, but I didn't come out with like $100,000 worth of debt, right. And then after that, I would get like the AOP fellowships and grants. It was just like a blessing to go through. So now at this time, I've gotten stuff done with the crazy stuff. I get hyper spiritual. So you go from one thing to the next.
One spectrum to the other.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Get it right.
I meet this guy named Quiller Harris. Actually, it's my sister's church. And so, she in church, like, can you pray for my brother? Can you pray for my brother? So I come in, I'm with the church, they're like, oh, the and so I didn't really, in the church. So we studying, I start preaching and all, yes. And
you snap.
Yeah, so it's one string on another. I'm like Drake 0 to 10. Well, I ain't Drake, but let me it's 0 to 10 real quick. It's like I'm all or nothing. So as I was in, but that was what I needed because it got me away from doing some of the crazy stuff I was doing, but it just put me on a positive trajectory. So I was like, it wasn't like just a religion per se, but it was like we would go to the prisons. I worked with the youth group. We would go to the nursing home. I'm studying about how to be good, so my mind is focused on, positive things. And I think that really helped me as I went into the field of psychology, just as much as the psychology classes.
Now that's a journey.
Yeah.
That is a journey. And that's a lot of resilience. You got a lot of people there,
man, I was blessed to have second chances. And our young people ain't getting no second chances because the night that I got arrested by the police, they beat me up like Rodney King. So remember, I graduated the next one. My mother see me, I got black eyes, I got pepper spray, I got hit. Now when you go to jail on a Friday, they keep you the whole weekend. There was a bold, this thing, I did some crazy stuff, but that night, the police was bold. This is when I can say I ain't making stuff. It was like, they was on some stuff. Because usually I love the fight. I'm the peacemaker this night, because I graduated the next day.
Right.
But my mouth is strong, so the police was like, hey, I'm sick of y'all messing with my guy. Like, shut up. I'm like, oh, I'm sick of them, man. The guy pulled my jacket, then just out of reflex, I pulled back.
It was over with.
Yeah, so I'm in the decontamination tank and whatnot. My guys come here like, They was like, y'all know he didn't do nothing. He graduated tomorrow. So they let me out on a Friday. And I said, think about this. So when you say, what you missing out? They don't let you out if you done really assaulted no police officer. But that was the charge. So I came back, they said, okay, but he's gonna come back this Saturday night. So I graduated, my parents met, my sister met, because she just pulled me out of jail. So they see me with the black eye.
Right.
Oh, this dude just don't get it. And so after I go to the police, they're like, well, what do you have to say? I said, I ain't saying nothing, because I'm thinking about to get paid until I get my lawyer. And that's when all of the case stuff started. So they didn't have nothing to say, but they let me go. They still didn't put me in with that, but that's how the case came. But so when all of that stuff comes in, it puts some things into your things like, okay, how do I not become this person? How do I help other people? But also, as we were talking about, we were kind of veered just a little, a lot of these young people ain't getting these second chances.
At all.
You know, whether it's from like the fights I had, because I had guns pulled on me, but people didn't pull them out. You know the rule with that. So you're like, man, second chance here. Police could have killed me, third chance here. And when you get those things, you say, okay, I get the message. If I'm still here, like 50 said, I got shot 9 times. The other guy got shot, but he said he ain't breathing. He said, I'm here for a reason. So I said, I got a purpose. So now my life, people said, well, why do you go so hard? I said, because people went hard for me, and I want to make sure anything I can get of others a little bit, I want to be a
No, for sure. No, I agree with that wholeheartedly, especially like you said, when people get a second chance, like I said, people get a second chance. So now, after you graduate and finish the doctoral program at UWM, what do you start doing? Did you get directly into something? You know what I'm saying? Like, how did the mental health?
No, you know, this is the crazy part. So I get out, and so this is the hard thing. So I'm scheduled to graduate in December of 2003. My dad gets sick in August of 2003, just has colon cancer. So we got to figure out, goes downhill quick. He dies in November. So right before I graduate, he passes away. And so I'm like, oh man, I was like, I need a couple of weeks, I just graduated. So my wife was like, just take a little time. You just went to school, did that. So 2 weeks went by. So I said, okay, well, let me start applying. Now, I can't find a job. I got a doctorate. Nobody wants to hire me because they think I'm gonna take their job. So people are telling me literally like, don't even put that on your resume. Like dumb your resume down. And I'm thinking like, they tell you to go to school your whole life. So I just tell people it was a little bit different. It took me 5 months to get my first job. And that job paid $26,000. Like I just had to get something because I'm feeling like a bum in the house. Every man, if your wife is taking care of the stuff too long, you're like, hey, now she saw me out working, I had to breathe, so it wasn't like I wouldn't do it. But it was like when nothing was coming, I was like, I just had to humble myself. So I get this job and I was like, I can't be doing this forever with no degree. So a job opened up in the prison system. So it's paying a little bit more money, but it's on racing, they give it to me. But I'm like, oh, this is my calling. Because my PO is still in the system, so I know exactly what's going on. My number is in there, it can be active at any time. So I started working with the people, man, and it's like the most beautiful thing, except for we in prison and I understand the consequences that come from out of it. But working in the prison, I worked in the prison system for 5 years in Wisconsin. I worked in juvenile with males and females and adults with males and females and mediums and maximums. And so when you get that experience, as a psychologist, I tell people, if you're a psychologist and you work in a prison, that's like, what I'm saying, you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. You can work through the prison because you get everything. You can work in the prisons. Say, if you can work in the prisons, I'm telling you, that is the New York for psychology because you're going to get people from the cradle to the grave. You're going to get people white-collar crime, blue-collar crimes. You get people who have special needs, other people who had great potential but just got caught up in the system. But if you can work there, man, I'm telling you, that's like one of the best experiences to be able to work with the world. Now, you don't like what they're going through, but to be able to be a shining light for the people in one of the darkest times, that was what was fulfilling to me, in that profession.
Now we got yes.
Oh!
Sorry, everybody.
This is typically what he do. Welcome, man. We've been having a great conversation so far, but just let everybody know we got a little Halloween to do.
Yeah, I've been hearing everything wrong, so I want you to continue on what you've been talking about in regards to your first position,
Yeah.
being in the prisons and what that experience was like.
Well, yeah, you know, like I just said, it was one of those places where you get to work with everything. You know, you work with the alternative to revocation. So for those people who was like, you know, had been out, like I was on probation, made a mistake, you had to go in instead of putting you in on all your time. They said we put you through a couple courses, anger management, domestic violence, ADA. So doing that is like it just increased my skill level. But like I said, I kept seeing this recidivation coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out. So I was like, I don't want to do this. You know, I was like, I want to do something more proactive. Remember, I was in the schools, so I get a call from Children's Hospital. They want me to come. So I'm like, I get to work with the babies. This is going to be it. But I get in the trauma department, so I'm child protective services. So now you're seeing children who are molested, who are in foster care, you know, who being beaten, or just having a hard time in life, you know, parents divorce, whatever it may be, it's a gambit. But again, you get to be a light in a dark place. But this is where it like comes crazy. Remember I told you see Milwaukee kind of slide down from working in the schools and special ed to working in the prison to working at children. I saw this cycle. Man, the young people, when I was going through my school, I worked at St. Charles, I worked at Wales, they graduated with me to the adult prisons and whatnot. I said, oh, now when I'm at the children's hospital, these are the children, so now their parents are incarcerated, the grandmothers are raising them. And these were before, remember I worked with special ed, so they went from special ed to St. Charles to Wales to being the MSDF or the Racine. And now the children are coming of age, so you're just seeing this. So I was like, the circle is just there, but it ain't no stop. You say, why do we do so? When we see it, I understand that it was socially engineered. I'm not saying we don't have any accountability, but when you see like people who don't have jobs, you see people who don't have great educations to be able to have that upward mobility, then you do a breakdown of the family system, so you do have fracture. Now, you talk about inflation. When I first started, this is how old I am, minimum wage was $3.35. And we thought we was getting paid. We thought we was getting paid. Now, then it went up to $7.25. But still at $7.25. All these years later with inflation, so like the Billy Princes and the Coach Larry Moses who could afford to, you know, supervise us and be our coaches. Now you're working 2 jobs, you're working 3 jobs, or you're trying to do something to make it happen on the street, and then it puts you back into this whole cycle. So you see where the problems come from and whatnot like that. So being a psychologist, it allows you to say, oh, I can see where this thing is at. So how do we then try to bring some type of levity, some type of understanding, some type of peace and calm to people so they can deal with the madness and elevate to their best self?
Oh, for sure. And what you've gone through all that, and seeing all that, experiencing all that with those individuals and seeing that cycle, did you take any of that home? Like on your brain, like how did you even try to unpack that?
And you know,
even as a psychologist.
Listen, I go home every night, I pray to God for superhero powers. I said, if you give me superhero powers, that means I can kill these bad people who are doing these things. Because you see these little children, you hear the stories. The worst story. We had a 9-month come in. She tested positive for chlamydia.
A 9-year-old?
9 months.
9 months?
So this is what I'm talking about. They say, oh, this psychologist wanted to kill. Yes, I wanted, man, you let me put my hands on this person who could do this to a baby. And so, and that's seemed like extreme, but it wasn't. That's the stuff you hear. So you say, how do you do it? So that's where, you know, you go into prayer. That's when you go into, like, it was physical. So being able to box, being able to get a relief, but also like with my fraternity going out to do good. My grandmother used to always tell me, she said, the best way to heal yourself is to help others. So I would always throw myself into helping, whether it was like writing something that I thought would help people, being, you know, productive with it, but then doing the physical fitness and stuff like that. Those were my releases.
So how you dealt with that?
Yeah.
9 months.
Yeah, so I mean, you don't forget stories like that, and that's just like I said, that was kind of par for the course. Like, you remember the movie Precious? Mm-hmm. I went to go see that silly after work. You know, you said I'm gonna go to a movie. That was one of my. I'm like, it didn't shock me. I was like, man, this is what I'm used to, getting pregnant by your dad. Yeah, your mama don't like you and will beat you, and then, you know, now you overeat. Now you got other complications in life like that. That's my life was like Precious for like 7 years.
So do you feel like you became desensitized to a lot of that stuff?
No, it just became sort of like, like if you're a soldier or you're a police officer, I was very hypersensitive. So now I'm looking like, okay, did this person look like they about to mess with this person, do this like this? Or with my kids, I'm a little bit more like this. So you have that level of hypervigilance that can sometimes go for the regular people. They're like, calm down. I'm like, no, y'all don't see what I see, but I see I've been in the prisons, I've been.
That's what I was just about to ask. So like when you were out in public, could you like see situations with families that was just like, I can already diagnose what's going on?
It ain't even about diagnosing. It's just like looking like I can see something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you go into a place like, ooh, it's cold here. Like,
Yeah,
what's
for sure.
going on? Especially, y'all married, you come in and you and your wife come in and smile. We can feel y'all. It's just hard to do that. You ain't even got to say nothing. It's just ignorant. You're human. But we say that kind of jokingly, but you can say, oh, I'm looking at how he controls. I can tell it's some DV going on right here. Oh, I'm looking at just how. So and I'm not like trying to diagnose. Like when I get off of work, I'm not even trying to do work. But you can't help but to see what you see. And it's in any situation. I can go into a workplace and say, oh, they got problems up in here. I can see this person is a micromanager. I can see like this. It's just like your eyes are sensitized to do certain things. So you can't turn it off. But it's also, I don't go butting into people's stuff saying it's just like I know where I want to put my energy and not put my energy.
So how do you think that like affected you mentally over that time? Like I know you said you were doing some things to kind of decompress, but like how did that affect you as your physical health and your mental health during that time?
Well, I think one of the best things is from a mental health standpoint, you get a therapist yourself. Okay. So, it's like you never be like, people be like, you got to, yes. In fact, and then she probably won't like this, but I took my daughter to see your wife. Because she was a black woman I didn't know, but I was getting therapy over there with that too, because it's like, you trying to be a better dad and whatnot like that. So it's like, you say, not only am I going to get it for me, but I'm going to get it for the people who I love. But it's sometimes you see some stuff, you be like, yeah, I was wrong with this. Or sometimes instead of going straight to the house, you drive around the block a couple of times so you don't pull that out. Or sometimes like you come in, close the door, and you need a minute. It's some things like that. But you usually learn from the wrong way and stuff like that. But it's like one of the things I'm trying to do is like when I came home, I wanted to make sure I was like, okay, they needed that. I don't want to be the problems that they talking about later. So we were a corny family. Movie night every Friday. We going outside. We used to call the backyard Wisconsin Mills. So we had slip and slides. We had everything that would go. So doing different things like that to help. But you would be dishonest to say that you don't bring some of that in. But sometimes you don't even see it and you don't know. But I said, and then life is still life for you. You're going through different things at the time. So I went through a divorce way before I even went through psychology. Like right when my dad died, that's when me and my wife first were separated and stuff like that. So it's like you have all of this cumulative trauma too. So you say, well, how do you do it? And the truth is, sometimes you don't do it good, sometimes you do. And I'll be like real disclosure, because my dad was an alcoholic. I was always scared of alcohol and drugs. So he used to gamble a little bit, but I didn't really do it. For women,
that was it.
Because it's a rush. Right. It's positive, reinforcement. Then it's that predator in you and whatnot like that. But I said, every man becomes a hypocrite when he becomes a father that has a daughter. Because you're like, oh. So it's this contradiction and stuff like that. But you crave, you're afraid because of what you did. Even if you want even if you want like a dog, you just think. And this is always the test. You be like, but I want my daughter to marry me.
For sure.
And when I was younger, the answer is absolutely no. I wanted to marry a man somewhat like me, but not exactly. And then as I got older, I was like, I would want her to marry this guy.
Gotcha.
And I'm not that guy every day, but overall, in general, that's where the maturity comes. But in that immature state, when you want frequency zero,
for sure.
It's selfish. But that was one of the ways, which I didn't even understand. That was my therapy. That was my increase in my serotonin, my oxytocin, those chemical neurotransmitters. What we do. That's why when people are on drugs, I don't judge, because I say it's serving a purpose for you immediately. It's just got long-term consequences.
Sure.
So you say, okay, well, what else can we get you that give you that pleasure, but don't have those negative effects? And so that goes into the psychology, because once you heal yourself, you're like, oh, I got the formula. This just wasn't written in books. I was messing up. So the biggest thing was this: when my second daughter died, She was a stillbirth. And so it was just like a crazy, crazy time. So I go through 2 phases, you know, you got all this hurt and this pain. That's when I start my business. So you know how you say you're gonna do something, but you don't. After the baby died, you know, you're like, oh, I start my business, get all the paperwork. Like I forgot the young lady name. She said it's easy to start a business, you just gotta do paperwork. It's the doing it. Well, man, I'm like on the computer, get my EIN number, get the articles and corporation, do all that. She died September 3rd, September 9th, the company is up. You got a website running, it look like it's been up forever. But on the other end, go back to the ladies. So it's like, you know, it's this struggle. So if we be right, what you have to do is be honest with yourself, because if you can't be honest and talk about what the real issue is, you're never going to solve the issue. And so many of us, so many times, wear these masks for society, like, especially like if you're out in the public, like, oh, I gotta be this and that. That's where we mess up, and then that's where those little secret things come in. So when you can say it and you understand where the weaknesses come from, you say, okay, so how do I fortify this? And you say, I can't just fortify it for today and think it's gonna be there. It's like when you hear outlaws, hey, this is my 38th day, and we clap, it's just like that, because you can fall off anytime. So I says, this one young girl, when I was in Ashland, Ohio with my dad, this is right before he died, we went to Ohio. And I was like, hey, y'all, don't give my dad nothing to drink if he asks for that. And then she was like, I see you worried about your dad. And she was like, what's your vice? I said, I don't drink, I don't do that. She said, yeah, but what's your vice? And she made me think like I had never thought before. I was like, wow, we all got something. You know, it's easy to judge the things that overtly come with consequences. But like, you know, when you say that's a closet crackhead, that's a substance. If you can hide yourself, you can get away with it. But if you really want self-improvement, you got to do that deep self-introspection and say, how am I going to get better, and then understand this is a daily grind to stay on it.
And when we think about that, because like it's not like you being super intentional, I mean, like you cool with like being vulnerable to yourself and that introspection. When we think about men, and the stigma that comes with dealing with their own mental health and things like that, why do you think we still have those pitfalls and those struggles to actually show?
Because we can't. Because it's like when you grow up in a male Western society, the whole thing is you gotta be strong, you gotta be tough, you can't cry, you can't do anything. And what you do is you compartmentalize your feelings. And you know, we say this all the time, this is not new. We can show anger. You know, you can show extreme happiness, you can do anger, but when you can't do those stuff in the middle, now what you're talking about is I'm already setting my people up. So for the young fathers listening, hey, make your son hard. Like we wrote a book called Building a Better Man. We said, how do we keep you, you know, proactively assertive, but decreasing like the negative anger and energy that comes with it. So it's a balance. Like I want to be a protector and a provider, but I don't want to be a harmer, not to just my wife and my family, but also my community. So when we do that, that becomes talking about knowing who I am. And if I want to cry, I shouldn't have to cry.
That's okay.
Now, I don't want to make crying all the time. I ain't gonna lie, you know. But if that's for sure. But it's a time too. And it was so bad when my dad cried. When my dad died, I didn't cry at his funeral. Everybody like, man, you were so strong, man. I'm so proud, and I'm taking
got
this. And now I go to the funeral. Oh, you gotta go to person. This stuff is coming out. It was like, that's when I was like, okay, if these emotions are coming out, and I can't control them like this, then I can see. What are the other ones? Maybe I'm being brutal with my tongue, you don't even recognize it. Or I'm being brutal with just my energy and doing it. So what I found is when you go to therapy, especially like, you know, when I work with athletes, this is a hard thing because you gotta be strong. You can't show no weakness, especially in front of the coach. You need a moment to be vulnerable. Where you can say, hey, I can take off this superhero cape and just say who I am. And then when I leave, put it back on. It's just like I need a moment. And then so when you start talking about therapy, don't always gotta be in a box with just me, you come in, tell me your problems, and write down as many ways. Now, I think that's good. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a portion for it. And in fact, there's a study that says if you go to therapy and you got a good therapist, that can account for 14% of the variance of change in your life. So if you put it in a piece of pie, 14% for going to therapy, that's pretty good. But it's 86 other percent that you still got to go to therapy. So it's about even how we eat, how we exercise, how we live, what we do, all of those things that we consume, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So you say, man, church was always the de facto therapy. The barbershop was the de facto therapy. So I said, keep those things in your life. But it's also about who do I got in my life. So when y'all come together, the reason why this is so powerful, whenever I see y'all, the synergy is good because it's like-minded. We building each other, iron sharpens iron. So you think about what's the company that I keep. That's your real therapy, because who am I around? You can watch a football game with 5 different groups and have 5 different reactions. So when we say watch your circle, watch your circle.
No, that's for sure, because one reason I asked that, because you know, people write stuff on the internet a lot.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they try to trick you out of like accepting therapy.
Yeah.
Like, well, you can just talk to your friends about it, but remember, it depends on what friends you have,
Hey, but
right?
let me tell you, this is what I tell people when they say they're gonna talk to your friend. So if you talk to Will, he gonna be like, man, that's messed up. Let me tell you what happened to me. I'm trying to talk to you, but it's that natural reciprocity. Like, you done dumped on me, I'm dumping back on you. That shouldn't happen again.
Yeah.
Then the second thing is, it's like, oh man, you want to kill yourself? I don't know what to do with that. Like, now you got a person who you say, are they competent to handle the biggest challenges
Exactly.
that come? But then the other thing is this, it's like people say, I go to my mom for therapy. And I do go to my mom for therapy, but I also understand it's a bias with that. It's a
Extreme
lack
bias.
of objectiveness. That
Extreme bias.
Forget that girl. I know you had 2 other girls, but you know what? She gotta wait for you to come. You know, it's that kind of thing when your mama is
Like your
home.
mama,
Now,
yeah.
my mama, she probably say, hey, you know, I'm gonna tell you the right thing, which is true, but in some other way, she's gonna be more subjective. On my side, be more sympathetic. So if you got somebody who's good, it's not even about me calling you out and saying, hey, you gotta do this, what I wanna do is just hold up a mirror and say, hey, you said you wanted to be this, but you're doing A and B,
Exactly.
but you want to do C. So which one is it? And you try to create that cognitive dissonance so that light bulb goes off and you're like, damn. So I tell people in therapy, this is the thing, I'm not trying to convince you, I don't give advice, that's the worst kind of therapy. What I do is say, tell me who you want to be. Now tell me what you're doing. We talked about words and actions. Now your actions meet your words. Do the audio meet the video? If they don't, be honest with yourself. Is this really what you want to do? Because your actions tell you what you want to do. But if you're saying, but my actions is doing this, but I don't want to do, okay, now we create the intervention. That's where you say, okay, you love football. I don't want you to stop playing football, but every time you go to the bar, you get drunk, you get a DUI. So maybe let's not go there. So now you say, well, I go here, but man, they so boring over here. Don't nobody talk to them. But let's not go here. But now you go here. It's a little more of a friendly environment. You say, guess what? I like to watch the game by myself. I never thought about this. I would watch it. But what we're saying is we do different interventions. And then you say, some days I want to watch it by myself. Some days I want to watch it with the group. But you put yourself in situations. So what therapy really is supposed to do is put a big mirror up and say, just be true to who you say you are. But then the honest thing you're saying is, who I say I want to be is this, who my mama wanted me to be, or who society wants me to be, because that's what most of us do sometimes. We try to live up to other images of what I think I'm supposed to do, and that's the disconnect. So when people say, I'm stepping out on faith, or I'm going to create my new reality, it's just that. So like, I gave you like the perfect example. I work with a lot of people in the homosexual community, the LGBTQ. Now, it's difficult for me because I'm not gay, so it's like I don't understand that thing, but you can be an ally. But what I do know is when they try to live a certain lifestyle, but once they become themselves, it's like, it's this weight. And so people understand LGBTQ, but I'm saying, put yourself in that same box as far as what you're doing that feels uncomfortable to society. Feels uncomfortable to you because it doesn't fit with society. And say, what shackle do you need to release? And say, let me be my free self in whatever capacity that may be.
For sure. And you mentioned something about, looking yourself in the mirror about who you want to be.
Yeah.
And how and I, we've been having this conversation a lot lately, just with a lot of things that we've been trying to do individually, but also together. Have you ever had, because I know you do keynote speaking, you do consulting, you do a lot of work and things like that. When you show up, do you sometimes second guess yourself? Have you ever had that type of
Imposter syndrome.
Now, you know what this is the thing, good?
I'm just saying.
I'm writing this in my book, so y'all let me read this on my podcast. You ain't never told this story before. This is so new.
Hey.
So let me put the little C copyright.
Gotcha.
So no, but that's a great question. I said, my dad put so much confidence in me. I can't suffer from imposter syndrome. So let me tell you this. Now, if I'm an imposter, I feel crazy. Like you asked me to do something, I can't do it. Now I'm gonna feel some anxiety.
Sure.
But if I'm trained and I'm qualified to do something, I get the butterflies because you said, oh, this is the moment. But I wake up every morning and I write, as soon as I get out the shower, the phone is still on, the steam is on the thing, I write, I'm an unconquerable champion 5 times, and I say that. And that's what I believe. I'm unconquerable because I can take an L, I can be defeated. But But you ain't conquering me, so that means if I fall, I'm getting back up. And I want that moment. I don't want to box a 5-year-old. I want to box a person who got the same experience as me and didn't beat them. Because now I'm the one the best. So as far as imposter syndrome, what I tell my people who suffer with that is if you got the skills to pay the bills, you got to believe in yourself. And that's why I do the mantras. I tell myself, so I cannot believe. So when those moments of doubt come in, they come. Oh, I got bigger voices saying, no, we up to the challenge. And guess what? Even if you take this L, we know how to get back up. We turn a loss into a lesson and it becomes a blessing. Now, I don't suffer from imposter syndrome, but I suffer from Samson syndrome.
Break it down.
All right. So you know Samson, the great giant in the Bible. I'm gonna go out and beat these Philistines. Hey Samson, the Philistines are on you. But he don't tell her the real secret to shit. Go out, beat the Philistines. Go out, beat the Philistines. But then the one day when the lady gets to him, he tell her straight. She cut his hair.
Yes.
He go out there thinking he gonna do it. He done lost his superpowers. Samson syndrome is when you qualified and you blessed to do something, but you done veered so far away from your divine calling that now you leave yourself exposed. So now if you're doing foul stuff, you say, I believe I only do good because I'm blessed by the best. I don't believe it's my power. Now I do my work and everything like that, but I was like, I'm the instrument. But when I don't do what I'm supposed to do, and I go out there thinking just because I did it before, that's the Samson syndrome. So do you fear from that? Because we all mess up every day. You be like, was this the time I get exposed? So that's then becomes being pure and honest with yourself. So if I don't know what I'm doing, I am an imposter. I should fear. But if I'm qualified to do that imposter syndrome, I tell people, man, take that fear away. If you done studied, if you done did everything you're supposed to do, you got to go up there and say, hey, I'm willing to bet on me and take my chances with this. The reason why you come up and do this podcast with so much confidence, you ain't got no paper. But you know you got some stuff that you've already researched. It's in your head. You come up, there's that little thing like, oh, I hope the show goes good. I hope the line is here. I hope the mic is here. But you done put the prep in. You put the batteries in overnight. You got stuff plugged up. You've done the due diligence, so you believe that stuff is just going to go the way it's supposed to. But now if you didn't pay the bills, your light bills, while you're up in here, that's the sense. Like your lights can go off at any minute. Like you should feel comfortable because you're walking off thin ice. So what I tell people is, if you stay in your lane and if you prepare, you can live with any consequence.
No, we needed that.
No, we needed that. And actually, it's something that you said or whatever that we try to actually do with one another when we call and be like, I don't know if I'm in the right place or if and I'm like, no, well, you know how to do this.
Yes.
This is what you do. Like, you just kind of got to go back to what, you know, your foundation of it is, and then just like execute. Like, that's what you do. Like, so don't be afraid of the moment, y'all. Let's live up to the moment. And vice versa. He do it for me. Like, no, that's what you do.
Listen, see, that's that circle again. And so like I say, I'm an uncomfortable champion. Sometimes you say, am I just saying that? But when you got somebody else saying that too, then that validates it more. But that goes again, who's my circle? Because that's therapy. Like, you had to come to my office to hear your guy say, you got this. And when the thing is, when he said it, he was like, yeah, I do. Just because he said it, it don't mean that you got to let it. And reminds you, yeah, I do got this because we all, when the moment comes. But that's that. Mike Tyson is my favorite boxer. And Custom Model would go up and say, you know the difference between a coward and a hero? And he said, nah. And you probably heard the story. But he was like, no, I don't know the difference. He said, they both scared. He said, but it's the hero who steps out. Don't know what's going to happen, but he's the one who's willing to step out. And that's the old saying, fortune favors the bold. So luck is not like something we don't know. Luck is a law that we just can't really identify. But you hear people say, man, it's crazy. The harder I work, the luckier I get. Luck is a law. It's not something just spectacular that comes from the thing. It's about stepping out. So when you think about football, you know, we just saw Shador Sanders and you see Jordan Love. You say, oh, he shot an interception. Why? Because he missed his window. So there's a window, a period of time. Like if I don't get this ball through here, the Greek call it the kairos. It's a window, it's a period of time. And so the thing is, the fortune favors the bold. Is the bold person to say, I'm gonna do it. Think about how many times you was at a club or dance, you saw a pretty girl, like, I'm gonna talk to her, I'm gonna talk to her. And then you wait, then some other dude talking to her. But it's the same thing. Like I said, we wait sometimes for, I'm gonna start this business. I'm like, man, I missed this grind cycle right here. Ooh, I missed this opportunity to go here. It's like, you got this gut feeling telling you to go, this window is open. And if you don't, you don't. So that's where the imposter syndrome come in. It's like, I see that window, but I won't take it. I'm afraid. But the person who goes, coward and the hero, the same. They both had the same chances, but the hero was the one who took that leap of faith. And because they took it, fortune favors the bold. These things start to happen. The harder I work, the luckier I get. So no, I don't suffer from imposter syndrome. And I tell people, if you're doing what you do, you're supposed to have butterflies. You're supposed to have anxiety. That means you in the moment to be able to test your greatness. So go out and live it. And if it don't come out the way you want, you learn from it. Like we said, the loss turn into a lesson, and we turn that lesson into a blessing.
No, for sure, for sure. The reason why I was listening to it because sometimes you in your head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like,
my greatest enemy is my inner me. That's why you gotta, when you hear those negatives, you gotta sandwich that out with even more positive. And then when you got good people in your life, that's why people love to read books, watch these YouTube inspirational videos, because it's hyping you up. We all need a hype man. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
and you're right. And two people that want to shout out is Dr. Thompson and Dr. Bird.
Bird.
So those are two individuals when you just mentioned like people really like pouring into you and cheering you on.
Yeah,
like,
the voice of the elders magnify you more. So for the older people out there, pour life into these young people because your words. I was 4'11", 86 pounds when I started high school. Remember, I tried to play football.
Mm-hmm.
My coach came up to me. I wasn't the best on the team. He said, Smith, you got potential. But that's all I needed to hear. I was like, oh, he didn't gas me up the right way, but he was like, I see what you're doing.
Right.
Keep doing what you're doing. Then as the signs started to come, the intelligence was there from learning, it all started to work itself out. But it's like words of encouragement, and it's just the opposite. So parents, be careful. Teachers, be careful with them words, because them words is what either build a person up, and I think that's what allows you, when you talk about imposter syndrome, if you've always heard your whole life, I ain't this, you ain't gonna do this, you ain't gonna do that, those are voices that's really resonating with you. So that's where therapy and other things happen, where you say, how do I learn how to silence these negative voices? That ain't true. And if they're not true, how do I flip them? I'm gonna say, okay, I'm not a good speaker, so you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna become a better speaker. Why? Because I'm gonna go out and speak. I'm gonna force myself to do it. So if I'm an imposter, I'm gonna learn it till I become the real deal. And then once I'm the real deal, hey, most fights are lost before they even fall.
No question.
That's the psychology.
No, that's super powerful, especially like just thinking from a man's perspective, right? The bravado and things that we try.
Ain't that the irony? Like I'm strong enough, I'm gonna do this. I can't go to this, or it don't even match. So it's like if you don't be that dude and everything. Oh, you weak, you gonna think? No, man, my therapy helped me. And I tell people, the strongest people are the ones who can say, I need help. If you need to move, you can move everything in this room by yourself. But if both of us help you, man, it go much smoother on your body and on the time. But you had to humble yourself to ask for help. Right. We see it in the physical dimension, but when it comes emotionally and mentally, we somehow think like that makes us weaker. But the strongest man is the one who say, I don't care what you think. I don't care what you say. I'm gonna do me in a way that helps make me my best me, my authentic self, and gives me that level of peace when I do. So
you can't run from it because wherever you go, there you are, right?
Man, I never had my shoes on. I got my shoes on here, but like I love to do grinding and everything. People be saying, like, you ain't got your shoes on, you outside barbecuing in the grass. I said, literally, the earth is full of electrons. So it's not just like this weird thing, but it lowers your blood pressure, it lowers inflammation, even helps with depression. Just touching the ground. Yes. And so people see something that you don't know, and we say that it's weird, but I say, I know how this helped me. But I don't care what you say. I don't care what you do. I ain't putting on my shoes. I'm happy. And it's like, I saw a movie a long time ago. Y'all kind of young, but you might have heard of it, Shaka Zulu. Shaka Zulu.
Definitely know about Shaka Zulu.
I was a little younger than y'all.
What Shaka Zulu was this great African king to the Zulu nation. You hear the Zulu tribe, but he had this real difficult life growing up, where it's like he was the son of a ponte, but it was out of a kind of a bastard situation. So him and his mom was always put to the side. So he had to learn it the hard way. But when he came back to the kingdom and took over the tribe, he had ways they didn't know. One of the things he didn't do is he didn't wear shoes. So he's a soldier. He got to come in. They said, put on these shoes. Put these on, it made me slow. And then it was like, well, pull out this hollow iron on your foot. He just, and he worked with, but it was just like, man, I was like, man, it's something connected to it, because we still talk about this word, like we talk about Achilles, like we talk about like we talk about Genghis Khan. And this is just one of the things, but it was like, he was knowing, and you look at our ancestors from the past, why do we go to the waters? Why do we like putting our feet in the sand? We don't even understand the vacation thing. It's like, we don't understand why it feels good, but it just feels good. So when you do this on a regular basis, like I said, if it can lower my blood pressure, it can reduce inflammation, it can help with depression, why wouldn't I at least try it? I don't want to take no medication, so I'm telling you to get on the grass. It's just little stuff like that, and we do those little bitty things collectively. that cumulative greatness.
And I think the fact that you are confident in that is it speaks volumes, because I think the social aspect of it and the construct, when we look at like, why you walking outside with bare feet?
Yeah.
You know, even as a kid, they're like, put some shoes on. You know,
I'm gonna put shoes on if I'm going to the shower at the white dog. I'm
No,
gonna
booty cool and all that. Absolutely. Absolutely. We go to different pools and all that. Absolutely. But
Sure.
a lot of times it was like, cover up, don't do that, don't do that. But some of those natural things
Yeah.
should have been done. You know?
I mean, life dictates that you have to do certain things, so it's like I can't be barefooted my whole life.
No,
when
for sure.
I get
I
an
get it.
opportunity, that's when I take it, and that's what I said. Those are the windows, those are the times where you say, this is the opportunity presented itself. I can do this easily now. If somebody want to ridicule it, laugh at, my family, I told you grew up on Senator Bell. Oh, here he goes. Don't bother me none.
Right.
When you're confident in yourself and you love yourself, what I recognize is this, and this is where I learned this from. So when I was on probation, a lot of my friends would be like, oh, let's do this, let's go here. And it's like, and I can't go here. Like if I do this, if we get into a fight, I'm going to jail. Y'all are going home.
Right.
Oh, you soft. You got that. So time go by, things start to get a little bit better for me. Man, I'm proud. Not in public, but in private. Then it's like, hey man, can I hold this?
Yeah.
And then it's like, hey man, my son is kind of tripping. Can you talk to him? And I love to be able to help and do it. But it's like the same people who ridicule my choices then, they recognize where it's at. And even in the things that, man, I'm glad you did what you did. Like that was it. But it was like they didn't tell me that when I needed it, but I had to be strong to myself. But then later words, it's like it paid off, and I'm like, I'm glad I did what I did. So there's no regrets with it.
Major.
For sure.
It hurt at the time. Like, don't get me wrong. I ain't trying to act like you just Teflon done and you question, but you say, no, I got a bigger purpose, and if I got to go without you, then I'm gonna move.
Sometimes you got to separate yourself from what everybody else is doing to get to what you're trying to do, and that requires that you have some boundaries about yourself, that you set yourself apart, because like you were saying already though, you already have to realize that you are set apart, right?
Yeah.
So it has to be in you that you already set apart, but you actually have to act on those things and say, no, I can't do that, no, I can't do this. A lot of times those people will come back to you and be like, hey, I didn't get it at the time, but now I do.
And you were the example. Because they saw you stay consistent to what you did, and they see the benefits.
No question of it. No question about it.
And I think we're so glad to have you on.
That's a
because
pleasure.
we haven't had a male mental health specialist psychologist.
But you had Dr. Kidd, and I call her Dr. Kidd because she's my home.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that was the first episode.
She gave us a unique perspective for sure.
Yeah.
And we also want to get your perspective as well, because honestly, we're not mental health experts.
No, but you are. No, and this is what I want to make this declaration. Now you say, am I a licensed clinician? No. Okay, so that's cool. But a mental health therapist, when we think about it, it's like, how do I make people feel better? How do I teach people? I told you I watched Psycho Zulu and Roots. Those were things that had profound effect. We can say, what's the best book you've read? My favorite song is J. Cole, Love Yours. That's when you say, let me stop comparing myself to other people. That's mental health to me. You got a podcast that brings people knowledge on literacy, that brings them things on making you feel good, learn better about yourself. That's a mental health expert to me.
Okay, so
you ain't got to be a licensed clinician now. You say that. Yes,
no, for sure.
But the mental health expert, absolutely.
Because so then before I even talk about what we got going on, do you know, maybe not being you, maybe some other people do you in your space and your expertise in your profession, is there a feeling of kind of like disrespect or stepping on the toes when people are coming out and speaking as if they have the answers to mental health? You know what I'm saying?
Well, my thing is just like, I want people to be, first of all, I don't have all the answers. So I'm very cautious of that. So I think if we collectively come together, we can do it. What I don't like is when people maybe read one book or heard one thing and then they go off and they speak on it like they got this great knowledge. Yeah. But then somebody else hears that, believe it, and then go off and do harm. That's my thing. But it's not about so much like a degree, because it's like, for example, you ever seen State Property?
Yep.
So it's this lawyer telling his person this case, and he's going through all of the stuff. But then there's Nas in jail, but he's a jail lawyer, and he's telling them they same thing. So sometimes you got life experiences that qualify you way more. So this is the way I can bring it into the psychology field. I came up as a counselor, clinical counselor. when I got called by the Bucks, I wasn't a sports psychologist. So people was like, oh, he's in his field. So I didn't have imposter syndrome. I was an imposter. So I was like, I got to get my game up. But I got to get shouts out to Jason Kidd. He understood where I was at. He said, you know what? I'm going to give you an education. So I never called him Coach Kidd. I said Professor Kidd because he gave me a school. He let me come into every coach's meeting. I was at every game. I was at every meeting. I was at every pregame speech, halftime speech, postgame speech. And I'm working in the mix, so I'm learning on the job. So it's not ideal, but because I had a background in clinical, which is what they really needed, I was able to move into it. But then what did I do? I started to learn, I started to read, I started to talk to people. I got the certification so nobody could do this. And so just last year at our major conference of Association of Applied Sports Psychology, I had to be one of the keynotes. So I said in 10 years from being kind of ridiculed from being in there, but I did my due diligence, but I had a training that a lot of my colleagues didn't have because they got to do school, it was theoretical. I got on the job training, qualitative to be able to do it. But then in conjunction, I didn't just leave it there and say, well, I got this. I also did the other traditional route. So I had the best of both worlds, which made me stronger. So when you start doing that, it's like, if you say, I'm doing something on this, I'm sure you read it. I know you get it at home talking to me. But I mean, even though the library that's there, so it's like, I tell people this, and I say this with all my heart. The reason why I did so good at the correctional facilities, I would do groups all the time. The men in there were smarter than me. So they would make my sessions better every time by their questions. So I would add something each time from what they said. So when I look at like the depths of understanding that people have, we don't always have to have a formal education. That's why sometimes I don't even like to be called doctor because I don't think it's that degree from UWM that qualified me to be a doctor. Now that gives me the license for the state to do all of the insurance and stuff like that. But as far as my real life experiences, it's Raymond Dozer. Because I was like, man, don't call me doctor. He said, no, we call you doctor because you like the doc. You know, like you call Dr. Dre or Dr. J. Like, they ain't a real doctor, but they precision from what they do where you say, you there. So when the community call you like the community doctor, and now you wear with a different badge of honor because it's like, you're not this high person who knows and sits on high, but it's like, I'm one of the people, hell, I still go through stuff, so it ain't like I'm so high and mighty. But so you said to your point, I just don't like when people, and this is in any profession, like you hear about this people who say, man, I know how to do this. They don't know how to do this. Like, you know, we call them the jacklegs. Like, they come in, do your electricity, and then, like, you had 2 switches, but only 1 switch worked. And you're like, hey, man, this one light. They're like, if you didn't know what you were doing, just tell me. Because you get a little bit, but you don't get all of it. But the thing is, I could get a person who never went to a school for electrician, but they trained under their dad who was, and they better than anybody who came out. So I don't just look at formal education per se as a person who can help, like they got the answer. Because there's some people who got degrees and I wouldn't want them nowhere near my people. You know, you got the exact certification, but you missing the elements. So like what you said before, I think you're born to do something. I was born to be a helper. I didn't know if I was going to be a fireman, be a lawyer, be a psychologist or whatnot. So when people say, what do you do? I said, I'm a helper. I'm a healer. That's what I think better describes me because the titles sometimes can get a little janky and, you know, have different connotations in different ways.
No, for sure. I agree with all of that. You went through the back door.
Yeah.
Especially when you started working with the Bucks, you know, but that made it a huge difference because of the life experience you had. You already had the clinical pieces. You were able to learn on the way. We did a lot of that in education. I definitely came through the back door in education. I was in healthcare first.
But the experiences you had there give you something that the people who just went through education didn't have. And then as you learn through training, through teaching, and just regular life experience, you put all of them together, you become an even more powerful educator.
Absolutely. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. And we even know, like when you were just talking about, like, you know, somebody that studied under their father as an electrician, we know some paraprofessionals that came in to help the teachers that could have been profound.
No question.
They don't get the pay, but they're doing all the work.
Absolutely.
No question about it.
And the teacher would defer to them, you know, because they know.
A lot of times.
We've seen that so many times. So what I was leaning into was the fact that Howell and I actually collaborated on a book called I Just Need a Minute.
Yeah.
You mentioned that twice in this interview already where you said when you drive around the block and you like, I just need a moment. Right? I need a minute to sit down and gather my thoughts.
I plugged it on my LinkedIn page. As soon as I saw you put it, I was like, hey, y'all need to do this. Because that's the kind of real talk that we need. And sometimes people say, oh, here's the doctor. I don't want to hear it. But then you get 2 brothers who come in who you say, they doing work in the community. I see what you did at Messing with the Camps. I see what y'all are doing over here. I see the podcast. oh, I can relate. Let me read this book. Now it ain't got all this heavy jargon where I don't understand what it is, but it's like, it's in real talk that helps me in real time. So that's why I say that's the expert to me, the people who put in the time. It doesn't matter if it's in a formalized set. Let me just be real with it. And we had people who was in school who was sleeping with professors to get A's, people was paying people to do their papers, and now with ChatGPT, you know the damn. So I said, everybody got a degree. Ain't really a degree. I said they smart because if you smart, if you get a degree, you smart somewhere. It's just like the hustle on the street. You smart as hell. You just go to the left a little bit and stuff like that. So what I look for is I say, man, does a person have sensitivity? Do they have compassion? Do they have competence? Do they have a consistency? So if I'm gonna tell you and I'm gonna work with you, I can't work with you for one day and then leave you out. And that's sometimes what the charlatan does. It goes like to my thing. It's the shepherd and the hireling. Hireling gonna get in, get what he can get, then get out. The shepherd is the one who's really qualified. So it's not your title, but I'm looking for people like you talk about. You look, shepherd or hireling. Oh, I see you working on for the community, but I also see the things that you get. So I'm not gonna hate on you for what you do because you do something good and something good. But I understand you're hireling, and that's what I'm expecting. But then there's some people who are shepherds. So if you got a title, you could be a shepherd, but if you don't, you can't, because I see what you're willing to do.
Absolutely.
That's the one who's willing to give their own life. And it doesn't have to be a physical life, but it could be your financial life, your social life, your emotional life. Like you give it in a way where you say, I'm giving more to you than what you can give me because it's my duty to protect or shield in this manner.
Gotcha. No, I appreciate that because we made a huge disclaimer on the hood. Like, we are not expert. We just talking about what we've done, and also we've talked to other individuals
that we know works. That, like you said, people that are qualified to come and have this conversation with you about whatever they have in common, the meditation, the prayer, the getting poured into by older people, exercising every day. So all these different things or whatever, we just want to synthesize it. But again, it's me and him having those conversations, but it's also us looking at Dr. Kweku. It's also us looking at different people in the community who do these things and whatever, and we know it works for them, right? We want to incorporate a little bit into all of it so that we can actually have this plan for men to be able to say, you know what, let me improve my mental health. Again, it also is that holding that mirror up to yourself.
You got to be honest, self-introspection.
Is this lining up with what I say I want to do, right? Am I eating right? Am I getting enough rest? Am I taking time to read? Am I
See, you just said the main three things. Eat, diet, exercise. That's mental health in its sense.
There you go.
And when it's diet, it's not just what I eat, but what I consume and what I So when you say I'm not mental health, but you're saying the same thing. Now if you go and tell somebody, hey, come pay me, I'm going to do a prescription for you. I'd be like, I need to get
Not right, no script.
Think about it. After we saw Black Panther, after we saw Sin, how you leave thinking on a different level. See, that's mental health to me. That's why the arts is there. We talked about music. Think about how many people say, man, this song got me through. You know, you see an artist and you say, this song got me through.
Yeah, sure.
You see a book or a poem even, you say, man, this is what got me through. That's mental health. You don't got to be a person that with a degree to do that. And I think that's what we have to kind of understand. Sometimes people take themselves too serious. Now, I'm all for professionals, so I'm not talking about you don't need to get licensed and regular. You're going to do it for a living. It's a training. But also some of the training, you got to remember, like in the world of psychology, who are the names you think of? You think of Sigmund Freud, Erickson, Pavlov.
Yeah.
This is a white male cultural practice, so that's even built upon a structure that's not always been best for us. So if I go to school, that's Carter G. Woodson, the miseducation of the Negro. All I'm doing is telling you this is how you got to be healthy, but that was never even made for us. So how do I learn from some of the good stuff of this foundation? But then I put some salt on it, I put a little sugar on it, I put it a little bit to make it digestible for us. And that's why sometimes people who are in the professional world miss out because they're so textbook in a line. Instead of taking the textbook and then combining it with real life common sense to be able to do it. But think about, why do we have Ebony? Why do we have Jill? Why do we have Black Enterprise? Because those other things, they were good, but they didn't show us. They didn't give us the things to do. So we got something just a little bit better. You know, the reason why I got on what I got on is because it's like I'm always going to identify with my African heritage. But I was born in America, my people like this, so I'm just as strong as American like this. I'm a walk. It's like I can't deny it. But what I got to do is understand, how do I mix the best of both worlds? That's why, it's always that thing like, man, you got to speak like this. No. If you understand what I'm saying, that's the only purpose for language. So I don't have to speak the kings, I don't have to conjugate every verb. Now I know it's a time and a place to do that, but when I'm in other settings, I gotta feel comfortable to be myself. And if me conjugating verbs make you feel uncomfortable with my therapy session, I'm gonna lose you. But now if I can talk to you about some stuff you did, and I can pull a scene from, man, remember that scene? I think we were talking about this from The Fresh Prince with Will Smith and his dad. Now I can pull that.
Yeah.
Now I ain't gotta talk about abandonment issues from, Eric Erickson and P.I. Now I can talk about, man, remember, and you feel like that sometimes, like, why you don't love me? But you got Uncle Phil, you got this, so maybe you don't got, but now we can talk about something.
So
So that's what I'm talking about. How do we get a foundation here? But then also bring it to this century, like you talk about, man, y'all a little bit older. So we doing stuff from the 1900s and whatnot. So when do we get some more like up-to-date theories and whatnot?
Sure.
And then that has a level of cultural competence. And we ain't even talked about how they were male-dominated from a misogynistic standpoint. That's why having the ladies to be able to talk about the ladies' space too, to be able to bring stuff that's blind to our side and stuff. So yeah, it's just so I'd say all that to say, I think we all have a level of mental health expert, but when we say it's levels to it, we know what's my level to exit do this. And there's levels I got where they say, oh, I'm doing this. I say, listen, let me take you to this person because this is their specialty. Like,
Sure.
I'm a journalist over here, but this is what they do every day.
No, for sure.
So even within the realm of experts, there's levels. So, you just know where you are. You be socially responsible, legally responsible, and you're good.
And that's the thing, because we never want to disrespect what you
Yeah.
do. You know what I mean? So
I mean, some people gonna take it as that, but that's usually because you're better at what they do, and that's what they do for a living. Because jealousy comes from when it's like, but if I'm an expert and I say, if I'm trying to reach this young person, I got a doctor, but then this person who don't come reach him, am I gonna be jealous or happy? And that's what your book does. It's like, it ain't gonna fit, maybe it ain't for this crowd, but it's for this crowd, and that's what we voted for, and that's who it's gonna
It's
help.
about helping them, yeah.
Absolutely.
By any means necessary.
I appreciate that. So, gotta end it with the final question.
Okay.
I know we had you here, now you got some other obligations and things like that. You're on the What's Your Motive podcast with my boy Highway. What's your motive?
Oh man, that's a deep question, but not like that. I think I kind of said it before. My motive is to be a helper, is to be a healer. I want when I'm done, people say, well, what's your legacy? I kind of think of that. Why do you do what you do? I just want to make sure that when I'm done with this earth, that the people who said this, I'm glad Kweku was here. I want people to say, the world is a better place because he was here. So my motive is to be able to lead this place better. And I say that because I give respect to my ancestors. They say you stand tall because you stand on the shoulders of giants, on the shoulders of your ancestors. I look at what all the people before me did and the path that they made wider. So my job is to make it wider. So that's my motive, is to show respect to those who did things for me to have it good, and then to pay it forward for our posterity, for those people not even born, so their path is a little bit wider and better.
Hey, well said, very succinct, straight to the point. Appreciate everything you dropped about the show today.
This was great, man.
I don't think you recognize that you actually helped us a little bit today too. So obviously some questions that I asked was for the audience and things like that, but it was definitely for us and things like
My
that.
shot is on, man.
And we just want to make sure.
I'm looking up at the mirror too. There's still some things I gotta check. Like you talk, you be like, yeah, I gotta work on this. Because like when you say something about people looking, you be like, okay, let me be true to myself. How do I get better? Or just admit this is who I am and then work in that vein. So no, we all learn, we all grow. That's why Michelle Obama book is so good. Becoming, it's a present participle. We are dynamic people. We're not static. You can always grow. You got to learn how to evolve. But just try to do yourself, be the best you can. Give yourself grace, but don't take that grace as a lack of accountability. Always pushing yourself to the highest standard. And one thing I end with this, Coach Kidd used to say, your job is to get better every day. He said the cumulative little growth turned into cumulative big growth at the end. So my job is not to compete with Junior, with Will. My job is to do what? Is to be a better me than I was yesterday. And if I fail at that, say, how can I prove on it today?
Appreciate you, man. So, man, Kweku, man, I appreciate you. So until next time, what's your motive?
What's your motive?